The Chief of Staff and National Security Advisor are both on the hot seat this afternoon. So too are the Attorney General and several other cabinet members. John Kelly and H.R. Mcmaster may have only days, or it could be like Rex Tillerson. Those days could turn into weeks or longer as the questions of survival potentially diminish their power and create vacuums of power inside the White House. All of this happening as the administration is trying to focus on steel tariffs, China, Russia sanctions, the opioid crisis, and those congressional midterms that are creeping closer as well. Let's start at the White House with our man Jeff Bennett there. Jeff, what is the latest that you're hearing about the future of both Kelly and H.R. Mcmaster?
Hey, Craig. Well, let's start with Chief of Staff John Kelly, because we know the relationship between President Trump and John Kelly has been strained at times, as Kelly has tried to instill discipline on the president's freewheeling approach. Kelly at one point saying on the record, joking, that God punished him when he left the Department of Homeland Security to go to work in the White House. But based on our reporting, it's safe to say that John Kelly is not going anywhere soon, and multiple officials are now pushing back against the reporting suggesting otherwise. As for H.R. Mcmaster, the National Security Advisor, we know his departure is imminent, as NBC News first reported, but how long Mcmaster might stay at the White House remains unclear. The president and Mcmaster, we know, haven't gelled personally, and they've also had public disagreements over policy on issues such as Iran, Afghanistan, and Russia. President Trump, remember, publicly rebuked Mcmaster on Twitter for not more forcefully defending the president's 2016 win when Mcmaster was talking about Russia's election interference. Add to that, Mcmaster has also been at odds at times with John Kelly and Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, who were at one point, the three of them, so-called the axis of adults, shaping the administration's foreign policy approach. As for Mcmaster's replacements, Craig, there are a couple of names. We've got Keith Kellogg, the Chief of Staff at the National Security Council, and there's also John Bolton. He's the most hawkish of all the neoconservative hawks. He was part of the Bush-Cheney crew that claimed that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and he's emerged as a leading hawkish voice on North Korea. Bolton, though, is controversial, we should say, even in Republican circles, but the president did like his TV appearances. So here's a tweet from Sarah Sanders that she sent last night. It says this: just spoke to POTUS and General H.R. Mcmaster. Contrary to reports, they have a good working relationship, and there are no changes at the NSC. These kind of pronouncements, though, from the White House are true until they aren't. The White House previously dismissed reports about the potential exits of Rex Tillerson, Michael Flynn, and James Comey, too. We should say, though, that the president is said to be taking his time before pulling the trigger on firing Mcmaster, because he wants to find a way to allow Mcmaster, an Army general, to save face, possibly find a soft landing, and he wants to make sure that there is a strong successor lined up. Craig.
Jeff Bennett on a Friday afternoon, always very busy there. Jeff, thank you. Keep us posted. This is how the Wall Street Journal reports the status of John Kelly. They headline it, "Donald Trump and John Kelly reach truce." But inside that article, you read phrases like this: at least temporarily, at least for the moment, and temporary detente.